How's it going, everyone? Marriland here. Last time we got a chance to meet May over on Route 103 north of Oldale Town. However, it is a dead end for now, and we need to head back to Littleroot Town in order to meet up with Professor Birch, as well as May. So a quick hop across those ledges will get you back to Littleroot Town in no time at all. So let's go inside of the Pokemon lab here. Oh, Marriland, over here. So, I hear you beat May on your first try. That's amazing! No pun intended. May's been helping with my research for a long time, so she has a pretty long history as a trainer already. I think that settles it. Marriland, I ordered this Pokédex for my research, but I think you should take it. Cool, so I got the Pokédex. That Pokédex is a high-tech tool that automatically makes a record of any Pokemon you meet or catch. My girl May takes hers with her everywhere she goes. Whenever she catches a rare Pokemon and records its data in the Pokédex, why, she comes to seek me out wherever I am in the field and show me the Pokemon and people you meet, and the great expanse of nature that lies before you. Experience them both while you fill your Pokédex. I'd love it if your world seemed wider than ever, though I'd love it even more if you came back from time to time to show me what progress you've made. Arg, I'm getting the itch to go out and do field work again. Oh wow, Marriland, now you've got a Pokédex too. That's great, just like me. Then here, I'll give you something too. Some Pokeballs that you can use to catch wild Pokemon. Sweet. So that's right, May, or Brennan if you're playing as the girl, will give you 10 Pokeballs. If you catch a Pokemon in the wild and battle together with it for a while, it will grow stronger for you. Take that as a bit of advice from a more experienced trainer like me. I'm going to get ready to head out from Littleroot soon myself. I can't wait to see what kind of Pokemon I'm going to meet. Let's do our best on both our journeys, Marriland. And I know I did the wrong order for that last line, but oh well, you know what? Sometimes reading things like as they pop up on the screen, I tell you. It's like, oh, okay, well, I always make it right. I always make it right. Okay, so that is indeed correct. I gained two things here. I gained the Pokédex and I gained the ability to catch Pokemon through the use of Pokeballs. So these little things here, when tossed at a Pokemon, has to be a wild Pokemon, not a trainer's Pokemon, but they allow you to attempt to catch that Pokemon. There are various types of Pokeballs out there, Pokeballs being the weakest, but they're great for starting out. Also, I've gotten the Pokédex from Professor Birch. Let's go ahead and check it out. So this thing is indeed a high-tech Pokemon encyclopedia. As you're looking through it, you'll see that any Pokemon that you've seen have popped up. Any Pokemon that you've not yet seen, well, they're all like question marks. You haven't seen them, you haven't done anything. Any Pokemon that you've seen but haven't yet caught, well, you can take a look at its picture, but you can't really see any information about the Pokemon. You could check its habitat, though. However, Trico's habitat is unknown. That's fine. So we have Trico in our Pokédex because we've seen Trico, but we haven't caught it. As for Mudkip, though, well, if we go here, we can take a look at the details for Mudkip, since we've gotten a Mudkip. And on the top screen, you can see a lovely little image of Mudkip there. And on top of that, well, there's a nice little kind of flavor text for it, which says, in water, Mudkip breathes using the gills on its cheeks. If it is faced with a tight situation in battle, this Pokemon will unleash its amazing power. It can crush rocks bigger than itself. It's pretty amazing, really. Now, the things that it says up there, you know, they're just kind of flavor text type things. They're not serious, but they're fun to read from time to time, too. And also, they do tend to differ between Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. For instance, if you're playing Omega Ruby, this text might be entirely different for you. I don't know for sure myself. I'm not going to check, but yeah, that's the point. That it's really cool because each version has differences. Also on the bottom screen, you can see that it describes the species of the Pokemon. In this case, Mudkip is a mudfish Pokemon. It displays the gender that you've caught, and you can actually catch different forms and different genders and stuff. Sometimes there are differences between them visually, which is rather neat. Otherwise, it doesn't really matter, which is kind of nice. It shows the type, it shows the height and the weight, and new to Pokemon Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, it shows the times encountered. That's actually really useful if you're fighting against a bunch of stuff, and it does have its uses later on. You can also press A when you're selecting this more thing, And you can do its appearance and cry, which is really neat. It lets you kind of spin your Mudkip or whatever Pokemon you've got around using the control stick, which is really awesome. You can also zoom in by pressing L, zoom out by holding an R, and I think if you press A, yeah, it stops the Pokemon. It just kind of freezes it there, which is rather neat. You can press X, and your Pokemon will do a little animation. It has several different animations it can use. And just pressing X, I'm sorry, not S. There is no S button, silly. That kind of cycles between them. Really awesome. You can also press Y, and it will play the Pokemon's cry. I think that this is just perfect. This sort of removes the need for, say, another Pokédex 3D Pro, because this is about as good as you would get. Very nice. Okay, so one other thing about the Pokédex is it's useful for showing where you can find Pokemon that you've yet to catch. So you go to Habitat here, and you may notice on the bottom screen there are these little dots. That indicates where you can catch this Pokemon. In this instance, I can catch Poochyena on Route 103, Route 102, and Route 101 here. And also while I'm hovering over it, it shows the type of catch it is. For instance, see how there's a tree there? Well, that means I can find it in the tall grass. If I were to be looking for a water Pokemon, you know, maybe it'd be in the water, which is the middle one, or by fishing, which is the one on the right. Kind of useful. Now, I'm not sure if it shows for future areas or not, so let's take a look at Zigzagoons really quick, because I know you... Yeah, so it does show you areas that you've not yet explored as well, which is rather nice. So it kind of shows you where on Earth you can catch this thing if you're looking to complete your Pokédex, which is rather useful indeed. Anyway, I think that's more than thorough enough of a look at the Pokédex, but some of you new players may find that really cool. As you try to leave town, Marriland, wait! Who's calling? Well, it's your mother. Marriland, did you introduce yourself to Professor Birch? Oh, what an adorable Pokemon. You got it from the professor? How nice. You are your father's child, all right. You look good together with a Pokemon. To think that you have your very own Pokemon now, your father will be overjoyed. But don't push yourself too hard. If anything happens, you can always come home, honey. Bye, Mom. Yep, that's it. No hug or anything. Oh, well. Yeah, so she just wanted to say goodbye. Alright, and she's not the only one. Marriland! That's right, it's May. This is from my dad. He said he forgot to give it to you before. Your Pokénav Plus has been updated. The DexNav function has been added to your Pokénav Plus. The app I just added to your Pokénav Plus is called the DexNav. It can tell you lots about the Pokemon living in each area and that kind of stuff. It's a handy app to have if you're trying to catch lots of different Pokemon. Alright, guess it's about time I use the DexNav to do some more Pokemon catching myself. Marriland, you should use those Pokeballs I gave you earlier to do a bit of catching too. Yes, I should. Indeed. So at this point, there are a total of 4 Pokemon you can catch between the 2 routes that you have explored. Route 101 has Zigzagoon, Poochyena, and Wurmple. Route 103 has Zigzagoon, Poochyena, and Wingull, although Wingull is a little bit more uncommon. Let's go ahead and see if we can catch some of these Pokemon, and then I will go ahead and talk about them and their different uses and stuff, and how good they are. Sweet, a Poochyena. Now, you may be thinking, ah, nice, I want to get me a Poochyena. I actually recommend don't do it. Don't catch this Poochyena, because you know what? In just a moment, we're going to be able to catch an even better Poochyena, which I guess I could probably run over and try to show you as I'm making my way through Route 101. Yay, a Zigzagoon. Now, you don't have to worry about, you know, running into a certain Zigzagoon or not. Zigzagoon are very useful Pokemon, because some of them have Pickup. That's not their only ability, though. They can also have Gluttony, another ability, which isn't quite as good if you just want to have a Zigzagoon in your party, but that's not to say it's a terrible ability. So in order to catch a Pokemon, you need to weaken it. You don't need to knock it out, though. That's a very bad thing. Despite the Pokemon fainting, it doesn't allow you to catch the Pokemon. So try to use weaker attacks if you want to catch Pokemon. Otherwise, you may knock it out. Generally, until you get to maybe level 10 or 11 or so, your normal type attack will allow you to catch level 3 Pokemon, and most level 2s. Anyway, on the further end of the route here, you'll run into May or Brendan again. Marriland, over here. And they're going to show you a really cool feature of Pokemon Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. See that? Right there. There's a tail sticking out. There's a Pokemon hiding there. And look here. If you check your Dex Nav, alright, it looks like that Pokemon knows a pretty rare move, too. Marriland. Try getting closer, real nice and slow. Push lightly on the circle pad to sneak close to the Pokemon hiding in the grass. That's what it said in a book I read. Now, I'm not doing this right now. You're almost there. Slowly, slowly. Remember, you press lightly on the circle pad to sneak. So, we can see this thing here, and you may have heard a little sound just a moment ago. Plus, you'll see something showing up on the bottom screen. If you press that red button, that'll switch you over to your Dex Nav, which I might as well show you right now. So, if you see a Pokemon shaking in the grass like that, first of all, it looks really funny, but second of all, the bottom screen will show a little magnifying glass with a red target mark on it. You want to tap that with your stylus, and it will begin to scan it. So, it'll say try moving more slowly. Now, very lightly on the circle pad, you want to move like this. You can go a little faster, but then it shows a hidden Pokemon. In this instance, dude, go away. You're gonna scare it away. No, I don't think he actually does. In this instance, it says search level 7, level 5, potential. It shows its ability, runaway, and with a little red exclamation mark there, it shows its first move, Fire Fang. So that actually overrides its initial first move and replaces it with a random egg move. That is very handy because you can get some really good moves that way. Also, some of these Pokemon can be very high level. This Poochyena, well, it's level 5, while the rest of the Pokemon in the area are only level 2 or 3. That's why I recommended not catching a Poochyena, because you'll probably want to catch the Poochyena with one of these moves. So far, I've noticed that it has either Fire Fang, Ice Fang, or Thunder Fang. I think this one may actually vary based on which starter you've chosen. I haven't yet tested that enough, but it did seem like it had one of the different elemental fangs based on my starter. So, yeah, that's kind of cool. Also, other ones in the future may have, you know, entirely different moves as well. So, go ahead and catch this Poochyena here. In this instance, I use Tackle. It's going to use Fire Fang against me, which won't do very much because I'm a water type. I resist it. Well, okay, I'm not. Mudkip is. So, in order to catch a Pokemon, I'll go through this one more time. You want to go into the bag here. This is also where you would heal your Pokemon should you want to. You just go to HP/PP Restore to use a potion. But we're going to want to use a Pokeball right now. So let's go ahead and use one of the 10 Pokeballs that I've got. The Pokeball will shake a few times, and if you've successfully caught it, it'll click shut like that. Say, gotcha, Poochyena was caught. You also do gain experience whenever you catch a Pokemon. You gain the same amount you would gain if you knocked it out. Very cool. Ta-da! Registration complete. Now remember when I said, in I think it was the first episode, when I was playing around with the options, I wasn't going to change L to A? That's because you can actually do that cool zoom stuff while you're in here. Yeah, it's really fun. It's so random, but I do like it. So I could have it looking this way. You can also have it do any of its animations and stuff. You can also give it a nickname after you've caught it. But as I said earlier, I will not be nicknaming any of my Pokemon throughout this series, simply because I want to make sure you know what they are 100% of the time. Okay, so that's Poochyena. You may also notice in the bottom screen there that, well, there's this big old Poochyena on the screen. There's also two kind of shadow-looking things that you may notice. Well, those indicate Pokemon that you have seen, but you have yet to catch. Let's go ahead and see if I can try to find them. Hey, look at that, a Zigzagoon. Let's see if I can actually catch this Zigzagoon. Okay, level 2. Hopefully Tackle won't knock it out. And it did not. That is really nice. Just the right amount of hit points. to almost secure a catch. And it got a critical hit against me. Has a lot of energy, right? Yay! I caught me a Zigzagoon. That is awesome. Yeah! Hard to believe this thing weighs 38.6 pounds. That makes it very heavy for just 1'4". Oh well. Alright, only one more Pokemon we need to find on Route 101. Let's see if we can find it. Awesome, there's the last of the Pokemon on this route, Wurmple. And we have seen enough Wurmple, I tell you. But now we'll finally have a chance to catch this thing. Or not. There we go. Alright, let's see if I can catch this one. Oh man. Alright, level 2 still. Hopefully this will work. Nope. Alright, Mudkip learned Mud Slap at level 9. That actually might help me catch this thing because that's a rather weak ground type move. And Bug actually resists ground, so that will definitely help because it gives me a weaker move to use against it. Now, this is a Zigzagoon though. I don't need another Zigzagoon. However, on second thought, maybe I do. Let me actually take a look at these two Pokemon. I was going to do that at the end, but one thing that you'll really want to make sure of with your Zigzagoon, whether you want to use it or not, I mean, it's not entirely the end of the world if it doesn't have it, but that pickup ability there is really nice. I'm just going to say that, okay? It allows you to pick up items after battles, which is very handy indeed. There we go. Okay, maybe, just maybe, I can finally get this one. Oh man, alright, Mudkip, you gotta take it a little easy there, pal. Let's go ahead and use Mud Slap here. This is a special-based ground type attack, and it hit for almost nothing. It also does typically lower the foe's accuracy, but since Wurmple has an ability that prevents that, it didn't actually happen. So let's go ahead and use it again. Using this process of using weak moves is a great way to lower your opponent's Pokemon's hit points to a range where you can catch them. Now, a lot of early game Pokemon, you don't need to actually weaken them that much. In fact, oftentimes you can just catch them with a single Pokeball without even weakening them once. But hey, you know what? If you have the ability to weaken them, it definitely helps save on Pokeballs. There we go. Gotcha, Wurmple was caught. Now there's another reason that I wanted to catch Wurmple, and why I was just bound and determined to catch this thing before I moved on. Alright, got me a Wurmple. Cool. Okay, let me show you what that reason is. So on the bottom screen of the Dex nav there, you will see you have this little golden crown whenever you've caught all of the Pokemon in the route. This crown is not always golden. There are actually different levels of it, but if you have indeed caught them all in that area, it will be gold like that. Keep in mind that in some areas, even though you may have caught all of the Pokemon available at the time you're there, there are also Pokemon that are available through surf and through fishing. So you'll get a bronze crown or a copper crown or something like that when you've caught all of, say, the land Pokemon. So just kind of keep that in mind. But yeah, that's really cool. So I've got all those, and that's kind of nice. Okay, so let's go back to Oldale Town. Now that we have the Pokedex, if we return here to the Pokemart, we can buy Pokeballs, in addition to Antidote, using the prize money that we picked up. So whenever you're buying Pokeballs, I typically recommend trying to do it in increments of 10. Try to buy 10 Pokeballs at a time, because as long as you buy at least 10 in a single purchase, after your purchase, you'll receive a Premier Ball. Now keep in mind, if you're buying 20 Pokeballs, like this kind of 20, well, you will only get one Premier Ball. If you want to buy 20, make sure you buy them 10 at a time to get the most Premier Balls. Now what on earth is a Premier Ball, you ask? Well, remember when I was saying there's different types of Pokeballs? This is a different type. Now, it's not actually any better than a Pokeball, it just looks cooler. It looks all white with a little red stripe, so that's kind of neat. I only have one of them, though. They're a little harder to get, but if you really want to catch a Pokemon and give it a cool type of ball, because remember, the type of Pokeball you catch a Pokemon in, it actually does show on their stat screen. Where does it show? Actually, it shows on the side there. See the side of Mudkip, or right below level 9? On the bottom screen, yeah, it'll actually reflect the Pokeball that you caught the Pokemon in. It also reflects it whenever you send out the Pokemon. Whoops, accidentally went in there. And on top of that, it shows it whenever you're healing a Pokemon in a Pokemon Center, which I should probably do right now. There we go. Okay, wonderful. Now, earlier, when I was trying to check out the PC, I didn't have any other Pokemon, so I couldn't show you how to properly use this. I also did not have Professor's PC listed as an option. If you use this, this lets you contact Professor Birch. It looks as though you've spotted 5 different Pokemon here in Hoenn. Yeah, he just kind of gives you a rating based on how many Pokemon you've caught. Okay, so going to someone's PC, you can select Deposit Pokemon to deposit a Pokemon from your party directly into the PC. Alright, it's gone. Also, once your Pokemon party is full, you know, your active Pokemon that you have out, all Pokemon will be sent to the PC. You can withdraw them by going to Withdraw, and then selecting them from here. At this point, you can also do Summary, which shows you their stats, sort of like in the main menu. Kinda handy. You can do Marking, which, generally these are actually used to indicate stats later on, but you can mark your Pokemon however you'd like. If you have any sort of pattern that's cool, oftentimes people do mark them based on these 6 stats, with this being hit points, attack, defense, special attack, special defense, and speed. You can mark them however, though, but that's more or less a standard convention. You can also release a Pokemon, but be very careful with this option because Pokemon that you release will not come back unless they're knowing an HM move that you don't have any other access to. And I think they have to be in your party for that. I'm not entirely sure. I'm almost positive now. Anyway, we want to withdraw this thing, so let's go ahead and do that. Now, that does seem like a lot of hassle, right? Well, this Organized Boxes option actually lets you do this all at once. So you can move Pokemon around, you can place them back, and you can even do this with your stylus, which is very smooth. There's also options up at the top. For instance, if you have the blue cursor here, which you get by tapping that, or I think pressing select toggles it as well. That gets rid of the move, summary, item, yeah, all that kind of stuff on the side. It just lets you quickly move them. Very handy if you're not using the stylus. There's also this green option here, which allows you to select any kind of grid of Pokemon here, and then after you tap it again, you can move them as a bunch. You can also rename your boxes, should you so desire. For instance, I could name this, you know, starting Pokemon. I could do any number of things. I can also go left and right. At the start, there are 7 boxes for you to put your Pokemon in. These are not all of the boxes that are available to you, though. As you fill these boxes up, then you will end up getting more boxes until I think it maxes at 31 boxes. But that's only after you've had at least 1 Pokemon in each box. So keep that in mind. There's also a nice switch box feature here, which lets you quickly jump to another box. Also kind of handy. And it also shows you visually where your Pokemon are. You can change the wallpaper for any of your boxes to, actually a nice little variety here. Kind of cool, I guess. They have it set to some default ones, and you can unlock some others later on. And you can name your boxes, which I think I already went over. On top of that, this mode here, it also lets you just quickly go to different boxes. You can press Y to search, and it's a very comprehensive search as well. You can search for all sorts of moves. You can search for all sorts of Pokemon, although I think only Pokemon that you have seen. Because if you haven't seen something, you can't search for it. It's just a great way if you have a lot of Pokemon. So keep that in mind for sure. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and put these back in here. I think I've given you enough of an explanation of how the PC works, but hopefully that's advice that'll stick with you throughout your Pokemon career. And again, if you are an advanced player, yeah, that's stuff you probably already know, but hey, you never know. There's sometimes little details that, you know, like the moving things with the stylus or moving things like on the grid. Not everyone knows that stuff. So yeah, alright. Now, we can get another Pokemon here on Route 103. That Wingull. Keep in mind, though, that Wingull is a little bit uncommon to find compared to Zigzagoon and Poochyena, so you might be here a little bit while you're looking for one. Oh, right, I have Wurmple out. This is actually a great demonstration, though. So, now that we have some more Pokemon, a good way to train them up is to actually lead with your weak Pokemon and then switch to a stronger Pokemon. Any Pokemon that participates in the battle gains experience. And if you're familiar with how experience worked in the older games, well, guess what? It's changed. It's no longer split, it's shared. So if Mudkip gains experience, the any other Pokemon in the fight gain the same amount of experience. It doesn't take anything away from Mudkip. Let me show you this really quick. So if I were to knock out this level 3 Zigzagoon here, I get some experience. Mudkip gets 24 experience, and Wurmple gets 24. That's the full amount. It's not like, you know, cut in half or anything like that. It's the full amount. So switching between your Pokemon is very recommended. Absolutely. All right, I'm gonna go see if I can find a Wingull really quick. There we go. There's a Wingull. All right, this bird here, it's actually a water-flying bird. So, yeah, being water type, water resists water, so I'm going to go for Water Gun here. I don't think that'll knock it out. No, not even. Not even close. I could probably use that once again. But I'm going to try and catch it right now. So yeah, Wingull is a water flying type. That's not very useful if you have Mudkip because, well, then you have two water types. Probably not necessary, probably a little redundant. However, if you have either of the other two starter Pokemon, then it's definitely a good addition to your team, or at least something to consider for a water type. It can learn a variety of HM moves, which are moves that can be used outside of battle later on. So keep that in mind. There we go, got a Wingull. Nice. Alright, now see on the bottom screen how there's that little bronze crown? That means that I've caught all of the land Pokemon. Cool. Okay, so now that I've gone ahead and caught a whole bunch of Pokemon, that only leaves me to head on to Route 102. I thought I was sketching some rare Pokemon prints. It turned out they were my own footprints. Oh, that silly guy. Okay, but before I go there, I bet you're wondering, what on earth are these new Pokemon? What do they do? I mean, I know that they're not, like, totally new, but you may want to know which one you want to use throughout the game, or different strategies. So let me just talk about them really quick. What do you say? Poochyena and Mightyena are early game dark types. Bite is nice on Poochyena at level 10, and Intimidate is a good ability for Mightyena, which it will have if Poochyena had Runaway before evolving. It's best to use a hidden Poochyena, since it has access to Elemental Fangs. Poochyena and Mightyena don't have the greatest stats though, and aren't good against early gym leaders, so they're not the greatest addition to a team. Zigzagoon and Linoon are normal type Pokemon that work great for their ability, Pickup. It can also have Gluttony, but Pickup is better. Plus, the fact that they both learn Cut, Rock Smash, and Surf, while Linoon can learn Strength as well. They have high speed, but unfortunately lackluster other stats. Linoon can learn a variety of TMs as well, but since most of them are special-based and Linoon has lower special attack, they aren't the greatest. Headbutt is a nice move for it, though. I don't recommend depending on one in battle, but it doesn't hurt to keep one around for pickup and for HM moves. Contrary to what a lot of people think, Wurmple's evolution is not based on its gender. It's based on its individual personality value, which influences things like ability and nature. It's essentially a 50-50% chance which evolution line it'll evolve into, and can't be changed unless you get a different Wurmple. Wurmple and both its middle evolutions aren't good at all, but they evolve quickly. Beautifly has a decent amount of special attack, but that's about it. It's not fast and has frail defenses. It gets some alright moves, particularly later on, and even can learn a few helpful TM moves like Echoed Voice early on and Psychic later on. There aren't many bug types to choose from in Hoenn, so if you need a bug, Beautifly is okay, though Ninjask is probably a better choice. Beautifly is also good against the second gym, and it pairs well with Mudkip as it evolves, with each covering the other's weaknesses. Dustox is a lot more defensive than its cousin, Beautifly, but it unfortunately lacks reasonable attacking stats. It gets some nice moves early on, like Gust and Confusion, which help a lot against the second gym. Poisoning the foes with either Poison Powder or Toxic is nice, and combos well with Venoshock. Keep in mind that Dustox is not part flying, nor does it have Levitate, so ground-type moves can hit and damage Dustox. There are a lot of Water-type Pokemon in Hoenn, and Wingull is the first you can get if you didn't start with Mudkip. It gets Wing Attack and Water Pulse fairly early on, and is nice against the second gym, even before it evolves. When it evolves at level 25, it gets slower, but gets a lot more defense and special attack. Stockpile helps raise its defensive stats and can be useful, but otherwise you're probably better off with Gyarados if you're looking for a strong water flying type, unless you specifically need flying type moves, which Gyarados lacks. Alright, so hopefully that gives you an idea of which Pokemon you may want to use. Keep in mind that these little mini review type things, anything I say in there, that's just kind of like my opinion. If you want to use a Pokemon, go for it. I'm just trying to give advice for people who are, kind of asking, hey, should I use this? Should I use that? And I will eventually have even more thorough reviews on my website, Marriland.com, sometime in the future, once I've played through this, a time or two, to get an idea of what's all good and everything. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you next time, everyone!